month or so, we'll try it again. The second time you sing it, it really gets into you. I guarantee you that. I've only sung it about three or four times, and it's getting into me already. New Testament lesson comes from 2 Timothy chapter 2, verses 3 through 10. Hear the word of God. Join with me in suffering, like a good soldier of Christ Jesus. No one serving as a soldier gets entangled in civilian affairs, but rather tries to please his commanding officer. Similarly, anyone who competes as an athlete does not receive the victor's crown except by competing according to the rules. The hard-working farmer should be the first to receive his share of the crops. Reflect on what I'm saying, for the Lord will give you insight into all this. Remember Jesus Christ, raised from the dead, descended from David. This is my gospel for which I am suffering, even to the point of being chained like a criminal. But God's word is not chained. Therefore I endure everything for the sake of the elect, that they too may obtain the salvation that is in Christ Jesus with eternal glory. Let us pray. Lord, we thank you for your word this morning, from both the Old Testament and the New Testament. We pray, Lord, that you would take your word and bring it to light. Give us insight, as Paul said that we would, if we would consider your word deeply. Give us that insight that will help us in our daily lives. Teach us those principles of truth that if we apply to our lives, will empower us to do the work of your kingdom. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. The psalmist who wrote Psalm 66 begins with an unchained melody. Let me read that again to you. Psalm 66, 1 through 4. This is an unchained melody. Shout for joy to God, all the earth. Sing the glory of his name. Make his praise glorious. Say to God, how awesome are your deeds. So great is your power that your enemies cringe before you. All the earth bows down to you. They sing the praises of your name. Now there is a reason I call this passage an Unchained Melody. To most of you, that is the title of a Righteous Brothers song from the mid-60s. That song was about someone who was in chains, who was in prison, yet they were longing for the touch of their loved one. And although that man was in prison, his song was unchained. And therefore, that's why they call it the Unchained Melody. Well, the reason I call this passage from Psalm 66 an Unchained Melody is because of some of the verses that follow. Listen to these other verses from Psalm 66, verses 10 through 12. For you, God, tested us. You refined us like silver. You brought us into prison and laid burdens on our backs. You let people ride over our heads. We went through fire and water. But you brought us to a place of abundance. See, the psalmist looks back on a time when the Israelites were chained, in prison, enslaved, abused. The time when they were slaves in Egypt. Some of the words that the psalmist uses here to describe that time of suffering are very graphic. God tested them. God refined them. God allowed them to be imprisoned. God laid burden on their backs. God allowed their enemies to ride over their heads. God took them through fire and water, but then brought them to a place of abundance. And looking back on all the suffering from this perspective, the psalmist understands what God was trying to do in their lives. You see, they were chained people, not only literally, under the oppression of the Egyptians, but also spiritually. Inside, they were weak, they lacked character, they lacked faith, they lacked self-discipline, they were complainers, they always latched on to the negatives. Inside, they were in prison. God wanted to set them free, not only from the Egyptians, but from that inner prison, their lack of spiritual strength, their half-heartedness. Setting someone free from his or her inner prison is more difficult than from an outer prison, because to set someone free from an inner prison, they need to be transformed. And for a lot of people, that can only happen through extreme measures. God had to take the Israelites through the wilderness, through the ringer, to transform them spiritually. When I entered my freshman year in high school, at that point in life, I had become a little bit lazy and a little bit soft. I'd gotten in the habit of seeking the easiest way out, the path of least resistance there in junior high. That's the kind of person that I became, until they put me in Mr. McKim's gym class. Physical fitness was a priority for Mr. McKim. Anybody ever have Mr. McKim out there back in the day? Physical fitness was a priority for Mr. McKim. Every day when we got to gym class, we had to do calisthenics. Then we had to run laps and laps around the gym. And there are these ropes hanging from the ceiling with the mats down below, and we had to climb the ropes to the very top of the ceiling and then come back down, and if we did anything wrong, we had to do it again. 10 more push-ups. 10 more squat thrusts. I want them done right. By the time we got through the winter, I'd gotten in fairly good shape. That's when Mr. McKim came up to me and said, "Ellis, boy, you need to go out the track." He called everybody boy. Well, I knew when he said that to me, it wasn't a request. It was a command. And Mr. McKim was also the track coach, and he did not like taking no for an answer. So I went out for track my freshman year. At track practice, I learned to hang out with the field event people because they didn't have to do all the hard running. Like I said, I tried to seek the path of least resistance. When I watched those mid-distance runners going through their workouts, I could see that they were suffering greatly, and I did not want any part of that. Finally, I could not dodge Mr. McKim any longer. He grabbed a hold of me and he said, "Ellis, boy, what are you doing with the field event people? You need to be with the runners." My world came crashing down. I was not ready for that kind of suffering. I was given no option. Mr. McKim was the meanest person I ever knew. My first workout with the quarter milers were 6 220-yard sprints with just a short rest in between each one. I thought I was going to die. As the days